Welcome back, Restorative Yoga for Menopause and Beyond. I'm Lizzie Lasater. Teaching us today is the lovely Mary Richards. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Lizzie.
We were just laughing before we pushed record because today we're talking about supported child's pose, and I confess to Mary that I never practiced this pose. So I'm very curious to be won over for this pose. Mary, what do you love about this pose for the menopause transition?
I tell you, Lizzie, I'm going to seduce you into this pose. I love supported child's pose because, well, first of all, for the belly compression,
All right, let's
when
get an image. Let's get an image so people know what we're talking about. This.
yeah, when you can put, an extra blanket between your ribs and the tops of your thighs to even amplify the belly compression. It's so great for cramping and bloating, but especially for cramping. And you don't have to worry about, any leaking because of the way you're situated. And that can be stressful if you're bleeding heavily, and that is a hallmark symptom of perimenopause, and the menopause transition is irregular, often heavy bleeding. And so this pose, you can situate yourself in it in such a way that it reduces that concern. And I spent so much time in this pose, Lizzie, because it felt so good for my organs. And it helped move them away from the front of my body, away from my abdominopelvic wall, and I felt my organs moving back into me in a way that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, what I'm attracted to just looking at this that I think would be good for me is this gentle opening on the back body. And you were calling that the thoracolumbar fascia. Talk to us a little bit about that. What's happening back here when we open the kidney area?
Yeah, so, restorative yoga is not about actively stretching. Okay. What we're doing is we're putting ourselves in a supported position where we can open. And a lot of us experience tightness in the tissues of our back body, especially in our mid
Yes.
thoracic and in throughout our low back. Okay, especially at the base of the rib cage, the back bottom ribs, and then down into the top of the pelvis. And so by putting ourselves in supported child's pose, we're actually in a position of gentle opening for the back body. And it just puts a nice bit of tension on the thoracolumbar fascia, which connects, the shoulders and the hips, if you will. Think thoracic, lumbar. And so it's a nice stretch for that. And because the kidneys sit in front of the back bottom ribs, this pose kind of airs out the kidneys. And that's important because we experience changes in our body temperature as we move through the menopause transition. We experience night sweats, hot flushes, and the like. And what my experience with this pose is that you'll often sweat in it because of the way it's opening the kidneys. You'll get really hot and like actively sweat, but then afterwards, at least in my experience, this is anecdotal, okay? But I'm not the only one who's reported this. I've taught this pose to a gazillion people, and this seems to be a consistent self-reporting, is you don't then have hot flushes for the rest of the day.
Preventative. That sounds great. What else do you love about this pose, Mary,
It's a
for us?
pose, it's a pose of introspection. It because it's a supported, gentle forward fold. It's a pose that allows us to go deep within ourselves and to just feel the skin of the back gently stretch with each inhalation. And then to feel the deep warmth and pulse of the inner body. And it allows us, these poses like supported child's pose, I believe they allow us to connect to our deep inner wisdom and to remind ourselves that we're home in the body. And this is particularly important when things are changing.
I like that so much. Oh, this is very helpful, Mary.
This is your homework, Lizzie.
Okay, last thing to say before we say goodbye on this session.
I would say when you practice supported child's pose, use as many props as you need to facilitate comfort for your ankles and your knees. A lot of folks, especially if you've had any sort of history with your knees, you want to actually take the time to support the root of the body in such a way that your knees are comfortable. And this is another pose that you don't want to spend 20 minutes in. You want to spend, let's say 8 to 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. It doesn't take that long in this pose. It's effective for shifting mindset and inviting body relief in a short duration.
All right, that sounds fantastic. Thank you so much, Mary Richards, for talking to us today. Thank you to our viewer. I'd love to see in the chat, what's your number one takeaway from this conversation? A single word or a sentence? What did you hear from Mary today? And check the description below for the link to subscribe to our free email list about restorative yoga for menopause and to get notified when our course on yoga for menopause comes out. Big namaste, Mary.
Namaste, Lizzie.